Maggie, can you hear us?
Can you hear me? Oh, okay, now it's on.
Can you hear me? Okay. On the side though, still? Okay. Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. From Columbia Radio News in New York, I'm Rebecca Ward. Governor Cuomo lambasted the state Senate. Yeah? Okay.
New York Fashion Week starts today. It's all about glitz, glamour, and the ideal woman. But a new art exhibition downtown is presenting a very different idea of what is beautiful and what is not. Mirror, Mirror opened at Latchkey Gallery last night in Manhattan. Lauren Laundrie has more. We ready?
Guys are gonna kick ass.
Thank you.
You too. You're listening to Uptown Radio. It's Friday, February 8th. I'm Cynthia Betibiza.
And I'm Andrea Salcido. This morning, Mayor de Blasio announced the first public schools to benefit from a new plan, which aims to boost teacher salaries throughout the Bronx.
There's an acknowledgement that the Bronx was ignored. There was an acknowledgement that there was an injustice.
Fair Fares, the program that offers New Yorkers below the poverty line a discount on Metro cards, will receive an additional $106 million in city funding. But advocates say that's not enough.
What we want to see now is a plan and a timetable for making fair fares available to all New Yorkers.
And as Fashion Week rolls through New York, One female artist questions the industry's beauty standards with a new art exhibit.
So I think it's all one big revolution of women being unapologetic.
All that and more. But first, the news.
From Columbia Radio News in New York, I'm Rebecca Ward. Governor Cuomo lambasted the state Senate this afternoon, accusing them of trying to stop Amazon from building its new base in Queens.
If Amazon does not come to New York, it's because of the political opposition. Because it is so ironic for Amazon, after they spent 1 year with everyone seducing them and everyone courting them, we win, and then there's political opposition.
The Washington Post reported today that sources within Amazon's leadership are reconsidering the plan to come to Queens. Mayor Bill de Blasio's office also responded to the story today, stating they are confident Amazon will stick with its original plan. It's now day 4 of the nauseating smell on the L subway line. Riders and MTA staff have been complaining about the odor since Monday night. Some say the fumes in Williamsburg and Manhattan's East Side have been making them sick. A man was shot to death by police this morning on the Lower East Side. Police say he was attacking his girlfriend with a kitchen knife.
Our preliminary investigation shows there is a history of domestic violence between these two individuals, and there is a recently issued valid order of protection in place against the deceased individual.
The incident was captured on body cameras worn by the 2 officers at the scene. The woman was taken to the hospital to treat knife wounds. New York City Fashion Week starts today, featuring fresh faces like Jonathan Cohen alongside the classic Ralph Lauren and Kate Spade. Meanwhile, 7 Olympic runners are gearing up to race in tomorrow's Millrose Games at the Armory's New Balance Track and Field Center. New York City is partly cloudy and hovering around 50 degrees this afternoon. Look forward to a sunny weekend with temperatures up to 40 degrees. For Columbia Radio News, I'm Rebecca Ward.
This is Uptown Radio. I'm Cynthia Betibuza.
And I'm Andrea Salcido. New York Fashion Week starts today. It's all about glitz, glamour, and the ideal woman. But a new art exhibition downtown is presenting a very different idea of what is beautiful and what is not. Mirror, Mirror opened at the Latchkey Gallery last night in Manhattan. Lauren Lantry reports.
When visitors walk into the Latchkey Gallery, they are often surprised by what they see. Huge paintings of naked plus-size women are hanging on the walls. A woman leaning over to pet her cat, her belly slipping out over her underwear. Another clasps her hands, resting them on top of her large naked breasts.
I feel like beauty is now defined in so many different ways. There's so much variety.
That's Amanda Uribe, one of the curators of Mirror Mirror. She says it's important to show the full range of what beautiful women look like.
Now, like every shape, every color, every size, every type of person, it can be celebrated. And I think that's what these 2 artists are doing. And I want to have that also part of Fashion Week.
Shauna Mcandrew is one of the artists in the show. Her papier-mâché sculptures are larger than life. One 7-foot woman sits on the toilet totally naked. She brushes her teeth with her right hand and holds a piece of toilet paper in her left. Another is sprawled on the carpet, waxing off her leg hair. And another is lying comfortably on her back, relaxing. Her hair balloons around her head as her breasts fall to each side of her body, one hand resting on her belly. Mcandrew prides herself in creating art that reimagines beauty. She says she's trying to reinvent what it is to be beautiful.
I think my work is so much also about women owning up to who they are and about women wanting to no longer be pushed down by things that they've been told should be shameful.
And Mcandrew sees changes. With the fashion industry adopting a broader range of model types, and galleries including work like hers, she thinks
it's all one big revolution of women being unapologetic.
The curator Amanda Uribe says the rest of the world hasn't yet adopted the kind of inclusive images in this exhibition. But she thinks someday they will.
I think I always say we're 3 to 5 years ahead of time in terms of like what's happening in culture.
For Columbia Radio News, I'm Lauren Lantry.
For many New Yorkers, public transit fares are a significant chunk of their budget. A new city program is trying to help. The Fair Fares program will give New Yorkers living below the poverty line half-price weekly and monthly Metro cards. Yesterday, Mayor Bill de Blasio released the budget for the program, over $106 million for the coming year. Nancy Ranking is Vice President for Policy with the Community Service Society. That group's finding highlighted the need for the program.
We have an annual survey called The Unheard Third, where we survey a large sample of all New Yorkers, including low-income New Yorkers. And what we found was 1 out of 4 low-income New Yorkers were saying they're struggling to afford bus and subway fares.
De Blasio has allocated $106 million for the Fair Fare program. Do you think that this is going to address the issue?
Well, it's a start. It'll help. What we want to see now is a plan and a timetable for making fair fares available to all New Yorkers who qualify for it. And that's all New Yorkers who are working age and below the federal poverty level. So we want to expand it beyond the initial small group that was in the mayor's initial phase-in.
And let me follow up on that. So initially, it's 30,000 people that would be eligible for the program. Is that correct?
What the mayor decided to do was to phase it in, starting with just 30,000 New Yorkers who are receiving cash assistance and working 20 hours or more. So that leaves out most of the city residents who are below the poverty level. It leaves out the jobless. It leaves out all the working poor who are not receiving cash assistance. That includes many immigrants who don't qualify for federal programs or are fearful of applying. So we want to see a program that covers everyone it was intended to cover.
In terms of numbers, how many people exactly do we know, or approximately do we know, that are not eligible for the program right now that should be eligible for the program right now?
It's well over 500,000 New York City residents.
What else needs to happen beside the money for the program to be successful and actually do what it's supposed to do?
We need 3 things. We need a concrete plan that's going to explain how are people who are not yet eligible going to be able to sign up for fair fares. And we need a timeline so that people know when are they going to be eligible to start taking advantage of it. And then thirdly, we need a robust outreach effort with advertising, like we saw for the rollout of paid sick days or universal pre-K.
And you mentioned advertisement, and that has been one of the criticisms of the program. Not a lot of people know about it. Do you find that people are telling you that they do not know how to access it? They don't know how to apply for it? Is that something you're hearing? And why do you think the mayor is not communicating, or the mayor's office is not communicating that so well to New Yorkers who might need this program?
Well, we're hearing that a lot, that people don't know where to apply. They call 311, they get the runaround, they're told to call HRA or call the MTA, and then they finally get to the right place, or they're told, well, if you're eligible, you'll get a letter. So even I'm getting all these phone calls from people who say, I desperately need this. I thought it was going to start in January. How do I find out about it? So we're definitely hearing that people need this and they need to find out about it.
Paradise, Silver Dollar, Pearl Gourami, Gold Tetra, and Serpay, Tiger Bob, Kong Roach.
Sam Sito runs a store in Chinatown selling pet fish and the tanks they live in.
I put all this fish together and surprise, they're doing good. They don't fight that bad. Soon you put your hand near the tank and they all come. Before I come to New York, I do supermarket. And all of a sudden, hey, let's do pet shop. Oh, a long time. I've been in this business maybe like 30 years. Sometimes I sit here, sometimes I have nothing to do. I might fall asleep for a second. People come in here like to relax, so they look at the fish, they're happy.
This is Columbia Radio News, online Fridays at 4.
From Columbia Radio News, I'm Alex Coletta. Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker testified before the House Judiciary Committee today. He was there to answer questions about the Mueller investigation. Whitaker has continued to oversee the special counsel investigation despite being advised to recuse himself. At one point in today's hearing, Whitaker had a tense moment with House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jerry Nadler.
Have you ever been asked to approve any request or action to be taken by the special counsel?
Mr. Chairman, I see that your 5 minutes is up, and so I'm here voluntarily. We have agreed to 5-minute rounds.
Whitaker eventually answered the question, stating that he has not interfered with Mueller's investigation in any way. Jeff Bezos is accusing the National Enquirer of extortion and blackmail. Bezos, the founder and CEO of Amazon, says the parent company of the tabloid threatened to release intimate text messages between him and his partner. Bezos says American Media Incorporated wanted him to publicly state that the Enquirer's reporting on his affair was not politically motivated. American media says it will launch an investigation. The Supreme Court blocked a Louisiana law from being passed yesterday that would have greatly reduced abortion access. Women's rights group says the law would have authorized only one doctor in the entire state to provide abortions. Chief Justice John Roberts, a historically conservative voter, sided with liberals to form the majority vote of 5-4. Rights activists applauded the court's ruling, which came in just before the law would have gone into effect. A Muslim man on death row in Alabama was denied his request to allow an imam into the execution chamber on Thursday. Dominique Ray was sentenced to death for the murder of 15-year-old Tiffany Harville. He converted to Islam while in prison. Alabama execution law allows for chaplains to be in the room, sparking a debate on whether the policy is partial to Christian inmates. The man's imam watched from the witness room as he was executed last night. A fire in Rio de Janeiro today killed 10 people. The fire broke out at a training center for the Flamengo football club. It started in a dormitory for the club's youth team. Most of the dead have not been identified, but it's been reported that 6 of them were young players. So far, the officials haven't identified the cause of the fire, but one player said it started in his room when his air conditioner engulfed in flames. For Columbia Radio News, I'm Alex Coletta.
This is Uptown Radio. I'm Cynthia Betibiza.
And I'm Andrea Salcido.
The Museum of the Dog reopens in New York today. The American Kennel Club first opened the museum in Manhattan in the 1980s to show off their huge collection of canine fine art. But interest was limited, so they moved the location to St. Louis, where it struggled again. Now, they are back in town, in a new location near Grand Central. Allie Swenson went for a look.
The Museum of the Dog. It might sound like an Instagram gimmick, but in reality, it looks more like the Met. Step into the lobby and you'll find yourself surrounded by art. Well, dog art. There are life-size sculptures of regal Great Danes, glass cases stacked high with miniature porcelain bulldogs, and the real-life skeleton of a 19th century fox terrier. That's almost a millennium old in dog years. And just like at any fancy art museum opening, there are celebrities.
My dog's name is Juicy. She's 16 and a half. She's a Yorkie because she's a New Yorkie, a Yorkshire Terrier, and that's Juicy.
New York gossip columnist Cindy Adams is holding her famous pup close to her chest. She's wearing a fluffy black and white sweater, and Juicy is sporting a red turtleneck. Crowds gather around to take photos of the duo, and they're not the only VIPs in attendance. Meet Hollywood.
Hollywood is an actor, model, and he is currently in Annie on stage, and he's Peter Pan.
Hollywood is a Leonberger, a dog breed the American Kennel Club describes as a lush-coated giant of German origin. His owner, Morgan Avila, pets him and adjusts his purple sparkly cape and top hat just before the press conference gets started. Take an elevator to the second floor, and you'll find another strategy the museum is counting on to wow visitors.
Good speak. Good speak.
Technology. Giselle Castro works for the museum. She's demonstrating an interactive display that allows visitors to train a virtual Labrador retriever named Molly.
Stay. Molly, stay. Good, stay.
Castro stands in front of a big LED screen and holds a virtual treat with her hand while the cartoon dog wags her tail eagerly. There's also a photo booth. It takes your picture and then matches you with the dog breed you look the most like. This reporter got Chihuahua. And while the museum's executive director, Alan Fossil, is excited about the new features, he hopes visitors don't overlook the artifacts that have been in the collection much longer.
We have some rarities such as a carousel mastiff. We have a 30-million-year-old fossil dog.
But it's time for the ribbon cutting.
1, 2.
The museum's board members cut the ribbon in front of a 19th century painting of brown hunting dogs with their white floppy ears flapping in the wind. But if you were planning to bring your own dog to the museum, think again. Celebrities aside, no dogs allowed. Allie Swenson, Columbia Radio News.
February is Black History Month, and this is Black Lives Matter at School Week. It's part of a national campaign to address racial justice in the classroom. Timothy Ruffin works on education issues with Black Lives Matter of Greater New York. He says the city needs to do more to support Black students.
The system establishes the curriculum, and the students have to learn that curriculum. The students really have no part in the decision-makings that go about creating the curriculum.
Could you explain to me more why that is a racial issue for, Black students as opposed to other types of students not being able to have that same kind of input?
When I look at the majority of the students that encompass the New York City public school system, most of them are Black or Latino. When you look at the school boards, most of the people making the decisions are not necessarily Black or Latino, even though you do have, a Hispanic, chancellor now. We can talk about this new movement about, Afro-centritizing the school system. We can talk about bringing more, Black Lives Matter curriculums into the school. But at the end of the day, when they go and take these standardized tests, they take these other exams to get them into college, none of the things that they are getting in the school is on the exam. So at what point do the decision makers make the idea or present the idea that maybe students, parents, community leaders need to have more involvement in the actual putting together of the curriculum as opposed to being just a receptor of the curriculum?
Why do you think things are as bad as they are in terms of, lack of input from parents and other Black stakeholders in the city school system?
The actual curriculum is not changing to include the people of color. We should not still be talking about the same things Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey were talking about during their time. The city will give you the illusion that they have created after-school programs. They've created more schools now. There's this Afrocentric movement that's going on where they want to bring, African culture. There's a talk about bringing a Black Lives Matter curriculum into the school system. Great. But at the end of the day, if that's not going to be on the standardized tests or the regions that kids need in order to pass, then what good is it?
So what do you think is the impact then of these different problems on Black students?
At the end of the day, if you're not the person deciding on what should be taught and what should be learned, then you're always going to be the victim. I think that's the challenge that New York City School Board has, and a lot of people want to change it, but how do you go about doing that?
With that being said, what specifically do you think needs to be done going forward to achieve these changes?
I think we need to begin to look at the legal systems, the educational systems, and we need to hold every elected politician accountable, from the city council to the mayor to the governor to the assembly people that come around to our communities in November and request our vote. We need to hold them accountable that if we want to change the curriculum, if we want to make inroads into the legal system, that we need to have our seat at the table. Too many times, decisions are made without us even being a part of the conversation, and we need to change that.
Timothy Ruffin with Black Lives Matter of Greater New York, thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you.
Left, 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 right. Left, right, your left. 2 times what? 3 times? Pump, 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 pump it up.
Alyssa Scaramamano, a logistics officer for the Army National Guard in Hell's Kitchen.
I love the military because of its equality. When I was 18, before Obama went into presidency, it was still don't ask, don't tell. So being a gay female joining the military, I couldn't tell one soul about my sexuality or I would go to jail. It sucks to see the regression of when a new president goes in and takes away everything that we've worked so hard for, because there's the backtrack of the decision to take away transgenders in the military. Regardless of the way someone may feel, I have to obey my commander-in-chief.
You're listening to Columbia Radio News, online Fridays at 4 p.m.
Left, right, left.
This is Uptown Radio. I'm Cynthia Betibiza.
And I'm Andrea Salcido.
Mayor de Blasio says 50 schools in the Bronx are getting more money to keep teachers in the district. The initiative was first announced in October. Today, the mayor revealed which schools will receive the money. Shannon Lynn has the story.
Schools in low-income areas aren't attractive to many teachers because they get paid less and they face more challenges. Things like more English language learners and kids that sometimes come to school hungry. Andrew Pecunia teaches computer science at Kingsbridge High. He spent $1,000 out of pocket on food and other supplies last semester alone.
I mean, it might sound silly, but like my kids don't always have food at their house. So sometimes I have food available for them to eat because I know in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you don't have food, you can't learn.
Today, de Blasio announced the details of the Bronx Plan, a set of comprehensive initiatives to keep teachers in underserved schools.
I believe here in the Bronx, the place that was left behind, the seeds are being planted for change all over this nation, right here in the Bronx.
Under the Bronx Plan, teachers will be paid an extra $5,000 to $8,000. The average starting salary is just under $60,000 in the Bronx. That's the sound from Patrick Pellicier's music class. He's a teacher at Highbridge Green. The plan would also give him more money for his classrooms. Pellissier says he would like to buy better music software.
I've planned to bring them to a rural recording studio and to just give them a couple of experiences and stuff like that. So I think that there's a couple of things that can be done, providing that there's the funds are available, basically.
While officials and school administrators say they are happy with the Bronx Plan, some parents want to hear more. Griselle Cardona is with the Parent Action Committee, a multicultural community group advocating for the kids' education.
We, as PAC, we would like to sit in the conversations with, the district, the equity, and, the culture responsive education, and we would like to sit in all conversations.
The plan is a part of a contract reached with the United Federation of Teachers last October. This fall, 180 historically underserved schools are expected to be selected for additional funding. Shannon Lynn, Columbia Radio.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Uptown Radio. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Our executive producer today was Bianca Giacobone. Leading our staff of reporters were senior producer Madeline Foley, along with Sophia Amati.
Director Maggie Green coordinated our studio production with Camille Peterson and Sachi McClendon.
Our web team member Stephanie Horter got the stream live to the web. Rebecca Ward and Alex Coletta produced the news. Senior editor Moira Ward-Burton and assistant editor Hannah Critchfield led our copy team.
Our instructors, Joanne Fayron, Sally Herships, and Ben Shapiro advised our staff. I'm Cynthia Betibiza.
And I'm Andrea Salcido. Uptown Radio is live on Fridays at 4. Until next time, you can always find us on uptownradio.org. From all of us here at Uptown Radio, thanks for listening.